Hi, everyone, and welcome to Monday Majors. Monday Majors is when we talk a little bit about all the majors that we offer, and I'm going to be telling you about one today. My name is Roni, and I'm an international student advisor at Green River College. I advise for students interested in business, communications, a couple others, and then one called General Studies, also sometimes called Undecided. These are students who aren't quite choosing a major just yet. So we're going to talk about that today. So if you want to start college and you're like, I'm not sure about my major, this could be the major for you. Um, what is General Studies? General Studies is a way to complete some of your college credits before you choose a major. So for example, when you're completing a bachelor's degree in America, it's usually about 4 years. And so I always say, like, here's the 4 years. And your first 2 years can be your associate's degree, which is what most of our students at Green River do. It's these two years right here. And you actually don't need to choose a major right when you start those first 2 years. So some of our students come in and they say, I don't know what I want my major to be yet. And I relate to them. One of the reasons I'm doing, well, there's two reasons I'm doing this video. One is that I do advise for general studies, but as a college student myself, I didn't know what I wanted my major to be. I changed it 4 times. I don't recommend changing your major 4 times because it does waste a lot of time. And I ended up finishing college with sort of a general studies degree. So let's talk about what you'll do if you take a general studies degree. Some people choose general studies because they don't want to get a bachelor's degree. They just want to stop at the associate's degree, and they want to get that level of education, get to the doors that opens for them, but they don't really want to go further. Maybe they want to go back to their home country with that associate's degree, and that's fine. That's something you can definitely do with the general studies degree. And some students choose it because they know they're going to choose a major. Maybe they're thinking of 3 or 4 and they don't know quite what they want to choose yet. So they choose general studies to start. And some students choose it, like I said, because they just have no idea what they want to do, which is also okay. So if you're a general studies major, how do you choose classes, right? Because there's no real major classes to choose. So first, I would say when we meet to talk about it, we'll talk about meeting the basic requirements of Green River. So all students graduating from Green River must take 2 college level English classes and at least 1 college level math class. So when students come in and they're new, like, we really want them to start those as soon as possible. So that's what we'll start with when you arrive. And then if you're already at college level English, you're already at college level math, sometimes we can start adding in some other classes, even that first term. So when you look at the requirements for an associate degree, there's like chunks, okay? So there's basic skills, that's the English and math I told you about, that's a chunk. There's another chunk that's called natural science. So this is where all college students in America must take classes like biology or chemistry or environmental science, classes like that, physics. You can choose which ones you want to take depending on your major, but everyone must take some of these classes. So we have that requirement in there. Some students, when they're not sure of their major, but they know they don't want it to be science, they take those to start while they're still deciding. And then you have other sections that are required, like humanities. Humanities are things like art, music, journalism, drama, English. A lot of students really like these classes, humanities classes. There are 3 required. Then we also have social science requirements, which are things like political science, economics, some business classes, things like that. And there are 3 of those required as well. And then we have a couple other sections that have easier guidelines, and you can choose almost any class you want in those sections. And those are called general education and electives. So the great thing about choosing the general studies major is that you can use all of these sections to explore your interests. So, for example, I often have students come in and they're like, I might want to be computer science, but I also might want to be economics. And so what do I have them do? Take a computer science class, take an economics class. If you think you might be interested in economics, but you've never taken an economics class, you need to do that, because you might find in that class, oh, I really love economics and I want to make this my major. But it's also possible that you'll enter that class and decide, oh, I hate economics and I don't want to do it. And there are students that go both directions for that. So maybe you're thinking like, oh, I might be interested in art. I might want to do that. And we can put you in an art class. And so all of these classes, economics, art, business, science, political science, music, all these classes, they have a place where they can go in your major. And you can still continue with your general studies associate's degree. So you're not just wasting time, you're fulfilling requirements, but you're also exploring your interests to see what you might be interested in. And usually when students do this, they do find an interest, and they find that, oh, I'm very interested in this. And sometimes they find it not through classes, but through talking to classmates about their classes and just learning a little bit more about majors. So you might just need a little time to decide, and that's okay as well. So as you're doing this and as you're taking classes, if you decide on a major, that's great. We can set the major, and then we'll look at the requirements for transfer to a university for that major. And then you can start filling in those classes with any open spots you have in those chunks we talked about. For example, if you decide you want to be a business major and you say, oh, I want to go to University of Washington, I'm going to tell you the classes you need to take to do that for business. There are some students that never do choose a major. And for your associate's degree, that's no problem. I have a lot of students, not a lot, I have a few students that get their associate degree with no major. They just complete it, and that's okay. And they take it back to their home country, and they've just reached that level of education. And then they can decide in the future what they want to do, because your college degree does not expire. So maybe you get your associate's degree, and then 5 years later, you decide, oh, now I want to go and get my bachelor's degree. You can still use that associate's degree to transfer into a bachelor's degree. You might have to take another class as a prerequisite or something like that, but you can, once you get that associate's degree, you have it. It doesn't go away. And then there's a smaller number of students that decide that they do want to transfer after they have their associate's degree, but they still do not have a major. I think maybe this is not as popular, but this is what I did. So I am going to tell you about it. There are majors at universities in America that are either called general studies. Sometimes they have a little bit of a different name, like interdisciplinary studies. They used to be called liberal studies, but I don't think anybody's really calling that anymore. And this means that you can actually complete your bachelor's degree without choosing a major, which sounds odd to a lot of people. But what it usually means is that instead of choosing like a major and a minor, you might choose 3 general areas that you're interested in, and then the university will give you rules on which type of classes you need to take in each section to graduate. This is a good choice for students who have the ability to get a bachelor's degree. They have support to get a bachelor's degree. There's nothing stopping them, and they want to open all the doors that a bachelor's degree can open, but they don't really have an interest just yet. This is what I did. So when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, my major is called interdisciplinary studies, and all the jobs that I've gotten in America have required a bachelor's degree, but did not specify a specific major. So if you reach that level of education, every time you move up in a level of education, there are more doors that open to you, more job possibilities. So if you're starting your educational journey and you're like, I don't know what I want to major in yet, that's okay. You have a lot of choices and time to kind of get where you need to go. And if you still decide that you don't want to choose a major, there are majors for that. So I guess that's kind of the overview of general studies. So don't be stressed out if you're coming and you're starting at Green River and you're not sure yet. We can talk about it. And a lot of times I do have meetings with students where we talk about their interests and we try to find a way to take those interests into what could be a possible job. And then what's the road you take to get to that job? So sometimes it's just finding the right word that could be your major. So that's all for today. If you decide to be a general studies major, I will be your advisor and we can have some meetings to talk about what to do in the future. Thank you and have a great day.